what if the operating system running your mind is decades out of date? Today, we're diving into a pretty radical upgrade for how we think about thinking itself. It's a framework called Quaternion process theory, and believe me, it's a game changer. So, let me ask you a question, straight up. Is the mental model you use to navigate the world, is it actually built for the world we live in right now? You see, most of us have inherited this idea that we're just observers, looking at a world that's out there. But QPT, well, it starts by completely flipping that idea on its head. For a long, long time, the dominant map for our minds has been this two-system model. I'm sure you've heard of it. You've got System 1, that's the fast, intuitive, emotional side, and then you have System 2, the slow, deliberate, logical one. And look, it's been a useful shorthand, but in a world that's just getting more and more complex, this map is starting to lead us astray. Yeah, what was once a helpful simplification is now becoming a flat-out failure mode. Just dividing our thinking into fast and slow isn't nearly details enough to handle the high-stakes decisions we're all facing. The real drama inside our heads isn't about speed. It's all about coordination. And this quote just brilliantly lays out the new stakes. The problem isn't having an emotional, fast reaction. That's just human. The problem is making a permanent, irreversible decision, what the theory calls a commit, based on an internal process that hasn't been properly checked. And the consequences of that? They're real. So QPT proposes an upgrade. We're moving from two systems to four distinct cognitive operators. Now think of these not as fixed personality traits, but as controllable functions you're already using. It's like going from a simple light switch to a full control panel, featuring logic, empathy, fluidity, and imagination. First up, we've got logic. Now, in QPT, this is more than just reasoning. It's your internal gatekeeper. It's the part of your mind that checks for consistency. It's constantly asking these crucial questions. Does this plan actually work? Does it break any rules that can't be broken? Or to put it in programming terms, it's asking, does this plan even compile? Meaning, is it coherent enough to even run? But logic has a dark side, a failure mode. When it's not balanced with the other operators, it can get stuck on a model and just ignore crucial new information from the real world. It becomes a weapon that's great at winning arguments because it's internally consistent, even while being completely and totally wrong. Next up is empathy. And this isn't just about feeling warm and fuzzy. In this framework, it's a powerful computational tool for modeling other people. It figures out their boundaries, it understands what motivates them, and it allows us to coordinate with each other without having to constantly negotiate every little thing. But here's the danger. Misapplied empathy is incredibly costly. When it's not connected to logic and a healthy respect for your own limits, it just collapses into appeasement. You end up breaking your own rules just to satisfy a flawed idea of what someone else wants. Then we have fluidity. This is your ability to adapt, to pivot, to take action even when you don't have all the answers. In a world that's always in flux, fluidity is what keeps our thinking from becoming brittle and outdated. It's really the art of learning while you're in motion. And what's so interesting here is the warning. You see, fluidity, without any checks and balances, isn't agility. It's just volatility. It's changing your mind so often that you have no memory, mistaking all that frantic motion for real progress. It's like being in a fast car with no brakes, and we all know where that ends up. And finally, there's imagination. This isn't just about daydreaming. Think of it as a powerful simulation engine inside your head. It generates all those what-if scenarios, it explores different paths, and it lets you discover brand new solutions that pure logic would never, ever find on its own. And right here is the double-edged sword. Imagination can get you drunk on possibilities, making you feel like you have real evidence when all you have is a really convincing story. Without being connected to verification, without checks and balances, it's not just a novelty generator. It becomes the most powerful delusion generator we have. All right, now we get to the biggest leap in this whole theory. QPT argues that you are not a passive observer watching reality unfold like a movie. No, you are an active participant. Your mind isn't just reading the world, it's constantly writing to it. Your thoughts and your actions are actively compiling the reality that you experience, moment to moment. This image just captures that idea perfectly. The whole concept of a privileged spectator, totally separate from the world, is a nice story, but it's a fiction. Real agency, that's the gate. It opens up the moment you stop just watching and realize you are an active part of the system's execution. Now, when your actions don't line up with what you say or your beliefs contradict the evidence, you start to build up something called coherence debt. This isn't a moral failing, it's just a system variable. And the interest on this debt, well, it gets paid in currencies we all know too well: anxiety, fatigue, and that nagging feeling of being pulled in a million different directions. So if our minds are writing to reality and racking up real costs like coherence debt when things get out of sync, what's the underlying structure that governs all this? Well, the theory proposes a core mechanical structure for this new physics of the mind, the Quaternion. Okay, so a quaternion is a four-part mathematical object. The most crucial part for us is something called non-commutation, and all that really means is that order matters a lot. Apologizing before you explain something creates a totally different result than explaining before you apologize, right? In this system, the sequence of your actions, well, that's destiny. And this table here shows how that four-part structure gives us a blueprint for our own thinking. The first part, A, represents the constraint topology. That's just the hard rules of reality, what's actually possible. The other three parts map right onto the dynamics we've been talking about. I is the order of events, J is the cost of verifying something, and K is that coherence debt we just covered, the price you pay for contradiction. This isn't just a metaphor, it's a proposed physics for how our cognition actually works. Okay, this is all fascinating theory, but how do we actually make it practical? Let's bring this down to earth and see how you can use this to become a cleaner, more precise executor in your own life. Here's a really simple 2-minute practice you can do every day. First, just ask yourself, what irreversible commit did I make today? Could be an email you sent, a promise you made, a decision. Second, where did I actually pay the cost of verification, that proof friction? And where did I just kind of run on autopilot, on pure assumption? And the point here isn't to judge yourself. It's all about building awareness. You start to see your life not as a story that's just happening to you, but as a series of commits that you are actively compiling. It's a huge shift from feeling like a passive consumer of reality to being an active, disciplined participant in it. And the ultimate goal of all of this is something QPT calls operational sovereignty. This isn't about controlling the world. It's a really precise form of self-governance. It's about knowing which moves are safe, what requires a proof gate before you act, and how to navigate reality's constraints with intelligence, instead of just trying to brute force your way through with willpower. So here's the bottom line. This isn't optional. You are already writing to the runtime of reality, every single day. So the only real question this theory leaves us with is this one. Are you going to keep doing it blindly, guided by an outdated map, or are you going to start compiling your reality with precision?